Greetings, Darklings, from across the interweb. It's once again I, the Duchess, Precious Ken, here for the Sounds and Shadows podcast. And I have a really exciting one. I'll talk about that in a minute. But like I always say, if you send me something, I will wear it or shout it out on the show. And we have a couple of friends of the show that did something pretty exciting here. Uh, Holly Dreamer, who's about to put out a new record from Ohio, but just I think one of the most interesting, different, unique kind of goth sounds around, of kind of a mixture of trip hop, hip hop, Sisters of Mercy, all blended together, is going to put out that new record. But before that, they released a single for our dear friend Trevor Aeon, the goth pro wrestler, and he's going to use it as theme music, and you can get that now. It's Demiurges in Dust, the Trevor Aeon theme. So, as you guys know, I'm also a wrestling fan, so this is super cool to cross over these two worlds, and something you should definitely go check out. So, now, one of my earliest reviews on Sounds and Shadows, when I first kind of started out getting drunk at 2 a.m. and thinking, I need to tell people about these new post-punk goth bands coming out. They need to know. And I got on Facebook and started typing up reviews that way, and then got my own webpage. And one of the first of those was a band from California called Creux Lies. And they had a album that they put out, that was called The Hearth. And it was one of my favorite albums of 2018. Absolutely amazing, and features a single, Portals, that honestly I consider to be a modern day classic of kind of this new wave of, post-punk goth shoegaze music. I consider it to be up there with the 80s and 90s classics of doing it. It's an absolute banger single if you haven't heard it. And it is now my pleasure to welcome to the show, gentlemen, welcome to Sounds and Shadows.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
So, we played a little dance to work out the timing and get you guys on for this. So I'm excited that it finally happened. And one of the things starting out that I always like to ask to maybe some of our fans that don't know you as well, tell me a little bit about the history and how this band came together and became the post-punk new wave juggernaut that you guys have evolved into.
Well, Ben, you're too kind. Really
I'm the exact right amount of kind, always.
well, going way back, Ina and I were in a band called Number Station years and years ago. It was a lot heavier, but we always had our sights and I guess our hearts set on a sound in our heads. And as members left throughout the years and things morphed, we found ourselves in a position to make that come true. So we started being a little bit pickier about what we were writing and who we were working with. So Kyle came into the picture. And around that time, we had Tara came into the picture as well during that era. And we just started writing songs that we wanted to hear. So that's how Creux Lies was born.
Excellent. Was there also for you guys, maybe even individually, uh I don't know, a moment, a thing? You kind of talked about you had a sound in your head when you guys started out on this, um where you saw a concert, an album you heard, something like that, but you heard it and it snapped for you. And you said, this style or this type of music is for me, and kind of brought you into this scene.
That would be first. I mean, for me, it was like, you know, growing up as a kid in like a really rural area of like Northern California. Um, we have a really strong punk rock scene and a lot of bands, a lot of people came out of that area, an area.
So you were like my dichotomous interests were at once. My dad was a musician too, just a little backstory, and had like a Juno 106. And I had this brother, older brother, who was like a goth punk rock guy, and then also like loved German like techno and like obscure electronica. This was like a while ago because I'm a little older. So I grew up, worshiping my brother's music taste, and my dad was always buying equipment, and I'd be in my room, like learning how to play a Black Flag song, and then at the age of 10 or whatever, and then learning how to play I Just Can't Get Enough from Depeche Mode on the keyboard. And it like was like, how the fuck is this ever gonna work out together? And it didn't for many years. So I played punk and hardcore. At one point, I decided to, like I wanted to use the two side of hardcore band with synthesizers, which didn't go over great when you roll into a venue and you set your synthesizer up and then you ask for a circle bit or whatever. But it did work eventually. But I think like the long-winded point of that is that like, for me, all of us, we have shared common interests. I think like, all the legends, that's who I was listening to when I was a kid, because that's all there was really was legends. That's all you could really get into. Um, and eventually as time went by, it was like, I got tired. I wasn't tired. I guess I'm not really that angry anymore. Like, I'm like,
Sure.
more, yeah, like, I mean,
If you haven't heard Rebel by 20, you got no heart. But if you haven't gone establishment by 30, you got no brains.
yeah, it's something along those lines. So it was like, just sort of like once I had divorced myself from having to be angry all the time in my performance and art, I was looking to start a musical group that expressed that other side of me and didn't give a fuck about, pandering to any sort of like archetype that people thought that I was, because everybody around here did us be at this punk rock guy. And I knew Barry from my local town. And one night I was walking out of dinner, and I was talking to my girlfriend at the time, would be wife, and I was saying, I really want to start this new thing with my life, this new music, and I just got to find the right guitar player. And we walk out of the restaurant, and this guy is sitting on the tail of his truck, and I go, Barry Kreider is a fucking awesome guitar player. And I walk over to him and I go, hey Barry, and he goes, hey Ian, and I go, hey, you want to be in a band together? And that was pretty much how it all got going.
I love Kismet. I love when a plan all comes together. That's awesome.
It was a super 18 moment. It was perfect, man.
At the time, I really only had like acoustic guitars. I was like playing singer-songwriter stuff. And he pretty much like handed me an electric guitar and a copy of Loveless. And he's like, all right, this is what we're doing.
I think you just described how a lot of bands post like 95 started right there was a copy of Loveless and electric guitar like that. So um, I think it's interesting you brought that up because I would say one of the things that to me makes you guys stand out in kind of the new wave of post-punk or dark wave is there's a lot of complexity to it. I mean, you guys have some banger singles like Portal that are, kind of more, four on the floor and pretty forward. But overall, you guys do a lot of kind of, I don't know, time changes that are a little different. And I think you have a really unique cadence to your voice that I think makes it stand out because you, I don't know, don't follow the standard rhythm maybe when you're singing. Almost, I don't know, I don't want to compare it to Morrissey, but in the sense of kind of moving around through your phrase, I think there's a little bit of that to your sound. And I wonder when you guys are getting together to write songs and do things like that, what's your process look like? How do you put it together? Is it built around maybe a concept or lyrics that you have, like you said that, or kind of like Barry just said, do you guys come at it more like a singer-songwriter, get an idea on acoustic guitar and then build off of that? Or do you guys just get together and jam it out?
I mean, I get it. We go. Yeah, it always kind of depends on the song. stuff, but usually somebody kind of brings in a skeleton of an idea, and depending on the person, it could be more fleshed out as far as like a verse, breaks, so on.
Yeah.
Or it could just be a real simple idea. Um, like I feel like
I could elaborate on that too. I remember because we've gone through different ways of putting songs together as a band, and I think the pandemic had a lot to do with how we wrote "Goodbye to Vine" and why there was a shift in, I think, the way the construction of those songs felt.
Yeah.
But the art was made very much like in a room together in various forms. Like I remember Ian coming over to my house a long time ago, and we had like this little like 808 thing going, you just like a real simple beat, and we were just kind of like laying down interesting bass lines and little guitar parts, and that's how Portals was formed. And I still have the voice memo of that moment, which is
That's awesome.
like a really cool moment. To us all just being in the room and somebody playing a riff, and we build something off and jam and go back through the recording and find that moment and build it off of that. I just have, I think we probably all have on our phones, like just graveyards of versions of voice memos of, and you can see the collection of songs through that medium.
And I noticed you kind of mentioned that you guys all kind of had to come in from different places to get here to the studio. So I imagine that probably has to play along with that, that it's precious time. You know what I mean? Like to get everybody to make the trip and get in the same space. It's kind of one of the things that maybe I think is a lot different in music today than it was in, say, the 90s is just that you were paying top dollar for a decent studio and hoping to God you could get the right take in a couple, because frankly, we can only do this for a couple hours, because it's all we could afford. Nowadays, everybody has a nice studio that you can get for a fairly reasonable price in your bedroom a lot if you have a computer. And but you still are under the constraints of like that getting together to make the most of those moments to write songs. How do you guys prioritize, like, whether you're doing rehearsal, whether you're writing new things, because you're a very tight band when you play live too. Where is it that you guys put your priority? Is it on the structure of the songs being really good first and foremost, or is it on we want to put the best live performance possible by being so in sync and being able to bring what's happening in the studio onto a stage?
That's a complicated question, Dan. Right?
Well, I'm a fake music journalist,
Yeah.
so I try and do this.
It, and we follow the feed and the page a lot. So I think a topic comes up a lot. Like another additive to your scenario is just all the other function of what it is to be a band that's sort of recognized these days, where you have a lot of obligation to do a lot of other things that have nothing to do with really creating music, social media, photo shoots, and shooting a reel or whatever it is to promote, and it's effectively also just for us, like we have like quit our labels and we're doing all the stuff on our own, which probably we'll talk about at some point of the interview.
Yeah.
At this point, so we're in effect running our program right now too. But when it comes down to just the music, when we get that time, you're right, time is so precious to do this now in so many different ways. The good, the one thing is we're all really good musicians and we're good at performing, and we're, so that part is a really natural process for us. And it just so happened that we're all like people that like each other and we like, share a common interest. So I think we're like maybe one of the luckiest bands out there. And so we don't have to spend a ton of time with that. Of course, we want to get tight before shows.
Sure.
But we spent a good amount of our time, fleshing out music, like Kyle was saying, like, I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and be like, there's the song, run outside and try not to wake my family up and stick it into my phone, and then we come in and we riff it out, and we work really hard to try and convey what is going on in our minds to bring it to all of our people out there. And that probably is the most time-consuming part of the band that we really make, but also to me the most enjoyable part, because you're bringing this magical non-material entity into the universe for the first time, and there's no greater birth than that besides my baby and maybe ours, but but besides that, it's an incredible thing to do, so again, we're really fortunate, but that's probably the biggest night of the process, but not consumer. It's
yeah, no, I love hearing that. And the other thing I'm hearing is the trust there. You know what I mean? Like, you can put your focus on the songs and the time they're writing because you trust everybody in this band to go home and do their own part, where that has not always been true with every band I've ever been in.
That's totally right.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how the process episode flows. We have that trust, and like you said, we arrive sometimes different times at our studio space. Sometimes, Kyle will show up here and we walk in and he's already been jamming on some cool beat. He has the synthesizers going, there's music playing, and we're like, all right, that's a sick idea. Let's continue trying to grow that. Or like Ian was saying, he'll come in and be like, you guys, hold on, I got this awesome idea. We got to bang this out real quick. So then we'll jump on that. So it's kind of all a collaborative process, experimenting with different sounds. We got a bunch of toys in here.
So we've talked a little bit about the past now and a little bit about the process, and you guys have you just put out a single, but you have another single coming up that you're going to release in a series. Tell me a little bit, as someone who's been a fan of the previous albums, what are you doing that's going to be different or fresh on this one? Because you always have to be growing, right? And you always have to be trying something new. I got a chance to hear a little bit of what you guys were doing. It was really excited. But for you, what do you, whether it was a new piece of technology, a new technique, or a new concept you wanted to try, what's something fresh you did?
Well, I guess I won't elaborate on it, or let me talk about Frozen. But yeah, the beginning of Frozen basically started. I had got this Roland 80 sound module, just like a 90s module, and pretty much I got it for this one sound as orchestrated, and it's just super classic. And that was the beginning of the song. It's just make you be that elegant. So that for me was a big thing. I tend to kind of be inspired by like instruments and stuff. Whereas like Ian start more with like melodies, which for like a song like Frozen was exactly that. And then now some stuff has changed. Just some of our background on like working with guitar or some things a little bit stronger than Ian. He just has melodies for them that pop it right away.
Nice. Anybody else feel like they did something different or tried something different in a technique or an instrument that you're excited about for these coming singles?
I mean, for the production of like Frozen, for example, like I think we were like a lot of with the new songs that we're kind of angling towards, like you said, it's like a growth pattern, and it's like that, number one, let me address like the fear factor of that, because you're always like, oh, I have all these fans that love the songs off our first record, and it's
Are they going to get mad if I try anything different?
Yeah, I know what it's like to be like, like fall in love with the band and be like, I fucking like what you do. Stop, why are you trying to fucking reinvent the wheel here?
Right.
It sucks. Just do the good stuff, But I think if you're strong enough, creative, like you shouldn't be limited by that, And I think we all have to remind ourselves to be like we're not doing this song, to make $1 million anymore. We're not, I think we're way past the ego phase here. We're like, we're actually real artists. So it's like, fuck it. If no one likes it, oh well, So going back to what you're saying about the new thing, for me, it was like, I listened to like all kinds of music, and I was like, inspired when I actually walked in with a Frozen song, for example, and Kyle was kind of like using the Geno analog and coming up some good bass textures. And I was like, this kind of reminds me of some like 80s hip hop groups like Houdini and shit, like Friends, how many of us have them? And I was like, why don't we try and make a song that kind of sounds like that, you know? And so we started, we hit orchestra hits and fucking let's do this, so like, who cares? Like if you're on board with Creux Lies, good on you. If you're not, like, you should be. Sorry, like
It's like also about trusting that like internal voice to you that tells you like this is coming from my heart, and my heart is also what made this art in the past to be resonated with. So I think playing off of that theme of bucket, when I'm developing ideas in isolation, I try not to care about does this fit the rubric of what is post-punk or what is this or what is that. And like, oh, is it a good song? Does it have like, does it feel good to me? Can we form it into something that is Creux Lies? And I think that's the important thing, is not worrying about what the end product is and more trusting in yourself.
Yeah. And something you guys said right off the bat, kind of coming from a punk rock background, an idea of that you're not the same person that you were when you were that into that at 19 or 20. I mean, if you haven't, your music is also going to evolve as you do as a human being as you go, And I think that's going to be more layered and more complex. And in a lot of ways, it's not like somebody's coming up with a new chord progression or something. Okay, those have all been done. The key to the future is in some kind of synthesis. And that's why I love that you said this idea of kind of your sound and your idea post-punk mixed with like a 90s loopy hip hop, and bringing those two ideas together to make something that actually is new. So were there any for this new series here, aside from, sounds or production wise, any concepts or kind of things that you guys were drawing from or going through that you feel like brought these particular songs together in a way because of a central theme?
I mean, as it evolves further, I mean, I think I'm thinking about the changes coming like politically and socially for us, and I think like that is having a, I was, again, to harken back to early Ian, very political guy.
Sure.
Always been a political guy. I studied it, in the college, and been trying to do my part. But I for a while, I think a lot of us, there's like what was the word you used just a little while ago? And like a apathy, or just like, what are we like, the first round of Trump and all that stuff, just kind of like it was like, when, like, you've been protesting, you've been trying to make a better life for people, and you've been doing all this, and you've been killing yourself for your life, trying to have an effect that, you trying to make a world, a little more equitable for people, and then stop it. And so then it sort of, was like, well, I don't want to be in that modus all the time. So like, let's go inward rather than outward. And I think now, though, I think I've been through that. And I think the expression now is like, you may not pick up on it like specifically, explicitly, but I think like a lot of our new content is inspired by just trying to go into survival mode through what we're all going to face coming up here. And when I kind of, I think maybe you, maybe Ken, I don't know, like all of us have this really weird heaviness, like, we're going back into the fight again. And, like, we never thought that we'd have to do this fight again. And, like, I'm feeling the, like, like, and the heaviness of that, and also the like escapism of that. And
Right.
but also like that reality of that, and like how do you like, as a person who's like, I don't get it anymore. I thought I had, I thought I'd studied the philosophies enough to be like, I think we're gonna get it, guys. Like, they think universe, human beings. I think we're gonna fucking finally get this. And then we're just like, oh wait, no.
Never mind.
So like, uh, so I think that
it is
drives a
scary.
lot of it.
Yeah, it's a scary time, and I think that it's hard not to have that influence your sound and your music because like you said, maybe part of it is trying to, I don't know, get something out that you don't know how to process. So maybe it's not actively thinking about it, but
Yeah.
you can't ignore just, I mean, and not even just for, I don't know, dudes like us seeing that and hearing it, but just thinking about the women in our lives, the other people in our lives, and what a frightening, terrifying time this could be. And that feeling that what are we doing and how can we do more? I think that has to be a part of our mindset.
It has to be, right? And I think the expression, the art, is bubbling right now with that energy, and
And it can go in all different sort of directions based on that nihilism or pessimism or optimism. Like we might say, hey, we want to have fun today because we've been down. So, hey, let's write a really like upbeat, dancey song. It might be like, oh, I want to write a slow ballad. It's kind of like more deep. So you can manifest in myriad of ways.
I think John's dead on that.
Yep.
It's the party God doesn't end. It's like, like we are, and I talk about this on stage, and like it's just like our community is our healing base. It's like before Trump there was trauma. There was all kinds of trauma, right? So it's just other trauma. So it's like, when we get together, it's when we heal, it's when we have a good time, and or whatever we manifest in that moment to kind of get us through to the next day. And
Yeah.
for us, it's totally right. Like if we need to write a party jammer so that we all can be like,
I mean, but that does help. The world needs that too. The world needs bangers. Like it can't always just be complicated thought pieces because honestly, if we really take the time to think about just how dark things have gotten or could get, none of us are going to make it out. Like we're going to need some moments of escapism as well in order to move forward.
Exactly. Yep.
I love that. All right. So, God, you've been a little quiet in this. So, I'm going to ask you a question here for our gearheads out there. But people often, when they hear the interviews, like to hear what's your rig like? What are you using? What do you play? And what do you like to see when you're doing your live setup or pedals that you like, anything like that?
Okay. I could run through my rig real quick.
Sure.
Typically, my number one guitar is a 64 Jazz Master. That's like been my go-to for years and years and years. I got a big ass Kevin Shields-esque Space Station of pedals. There's too many, like more at home, too many delays and reverbs all in a row. Then I run that into a 84 Roland JC 120. That's been my rig for the last, I guess, 5 or 6 years.
Oh wow.
The guitar's been with me longer than that.
You like to carry stuff. We've spent the last 5 years as my back gets worse, eliminating like amplifiers, all inner monitors, all that jazz. So you're still carrying stuff. That's intense.
I did just buckle code and I bought myself a Strymon Iridium, which is like an input response amp modeler for flying. So I may ditch the amp yet. We'll see.
Become a believer. I have, All right. Next up, what's your bass rig look like?
So for amp, an amp peg, like used and past porch, big fan of.
Until I get stolen.
Until someone steals it out back in your band while you're on tours. And a bench. And buy an amp peg, but then you're happy with the amp peg.
Then my main base that I use is a Roland G77, which came out in early 80s.
Oh yeah, old school.
I mostly just use it as for bass tone, but it has MIDI pickup, and so I'm able to hook it up to a synthesizer and control a synthesizer. But the tracking is not 100%, so for live shows, it just makes sense. And then for pedals, Iron Ether, a brand I'm a big fan of. There I use their Buzz, Epic, for Ever, the Chorus, Crazy Tune Circuits. I've been starting to use their Chorus and Delay, MXR, Carbon Copy. That delay is just like the best delay ever. And then I recently had got an Empress compressor, which is really been great. And then I got one a lot of the greats out of Sans Amp. And that's probably
That's classic.
Driver, yeah. I just love that sound, and nothing else sounds like Sans Amp.
What about you, John?
We got all sorts of toys in here that we kind of share on the keyboards. We got a bunch of partner synths. We got the Judo 106, JB, got some Arturia stuff. Also got all types of stuff. Yeah.
You actually did you say a Juno? You bring like a Juno on the road with you?
So for live, we're just doing soft synth stuff usually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have brought that Juno. I've had that Juno 106 for probably like 20 years, and it's got the guts. I've been rebuilt like 3 or 4 times. And again, that was my main synth when I was in a hardcore band, holding onto it like while going off the stage and playing, and like it's been, but it still works.
I've seen him abuse that synth in like crazy contexts, where you're like, now with the preciousness of them, you'd think he was nuts.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd have to just keep it in bubble tape while you went on stage, you know.
Yeah, the tricky thing with the old analog too, we have a Gen XTP 106, and then Sonic ESQ1. Being old and analog, those instruments are like 40 years old. They can be very noisy and can kind of be unreliable. But for the 90 fragment stuff, which is the Roland JB 1080, 880, and wave station, chord wave station, those are a little more get beat up. So those I'm hoping we're going to be able to live up with.
So let's talk about the future now. I mean, you guys have, we've talked about kind of the singles coming out, but if we did another interview, next year, beginning of, 2026, whether it's tours that you guys want to do, a festival you're excited about this year, what is it that people can be excited to come take it in and see you guys? Tell me about some of the things that you have coming up.
By the time the interview comes out, we're going to be doing some dates with Bishop Video.
Dusty is the best. Just gotta love Dusty.
Great friendship, political aligning, just good times, great conversations always, lots of hugs. It's just a good matchup for the vibe. So we'll be doing some shows with them.
That's awesome.
In April, and then we have a lot of tentative stuff on deck. I mean, we've had, it looks like we'll probably be back to wave Gothic Trevor Aeon in 26.
Oh wow.
We have, I mean, there's a lot of festivals and a lot of tour offers and things on the deck, and we're trying to mitigate how to do them and also not get fired from our day jobs. And if y'all would just buy more records,
then you wouldn't have to think about that.
Without even thinking, we can just come.
But it's good anyway to keep them waiting, be the prettiest girl at the dance, like wait a little while and see what other offers come in. You don't want to be too hasty.
For sure. So yeah, we're mitigating a lot of stuff here, but there's a lot of offers on the table and a lot of cool stuff coming up for Creux Lies. We just have to capture the moments here. So yeah. Well, yeah.
So one of the things I always like to ask on the show, because we're a music review page first and foremost, is I want to hear about some of the other things that are inspiring you guys, and that you're listening to. Now, you just said a great one right there in Dusty and Vision Video. To me, with you guys, Twin Tribes actors, I think are kind of some of the people really leading the scene towards bringing notoriety to it. So that's a great call out there. Anybody else that you guys think of, or that you're excited to hear or listen to, maybe even something a little obscure out in the California region that I don't know about yet?
Uh, I'm trying to think of like a new. There's so many fucking bands in California.
Spike Ellis.
There are.
Huh?
Spike Ellis.
Spike Ellis is I mean,
Oh
they're
yeah,
not
that's a
new,
great band.
you know, but they're.
Soft Vein.
Oh yeah, they're so awesome.
Who is it I just saw that they're doing a tour with? Oh, maybe it was the Chameleon.
Actors is
Oh,
support.
they're playing with. Oh, that's it. They're playing with actors. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, they're a very, very cool band. Yeah, I really like both those. Both those are wonderful. Spike
Yeah.
Hellis, I got to see, we did a festival that we played in Detroit that they were at, and I'd never seen them live before, and I was shattered. I was like, what on earth is this?
Totally.
This is
They're
like
amazing.
blew my hair back, man. It was absolutely crazy.
They're so well they're so well thought out in all of the things that they do. Like I just respect the band art project, like them in
Yeah.
so many different ways. From not I mean the music is awesome. Just start there. The music
Yeah.
is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And it's not just something simple to listen to, like a club hit. I mean, it is a like visceral. I feel uncomfortable listening to this, but I'm feeling something. Like
Yes.
it has a lot of that flavor where you are not like tapping your
Isn't
toe to
that
this.
yeah, but it isn't that really what art is should be like, right? Like I mean it's that's why I just love them. I absolutely just love
You
them.
walk away indifferent.
Yeah.
Right. Why did you even bother showing up if I was just gonna met?
Failed. So I don't know. Other are we focusing on California bands still, or are we?
Anybody you want, anybody that comes to mind, but it's just nice. I always like when people shout out regional ones because it might be somebody that I'm, not aware of.
Yeah. Um,
And it doesn't have to be goth, post-punk, whatever. It's whatever you're feeling right now, whatever you're listening to.
Yep. My album of the year was Frog and Boiling Water by Dive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I can't get enough of that record. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and they get better with every record. So if you haven't brought that one out, it's really incredible.
Yeah. I think they're going back out on the road too. I think I heard. Rachel, my wife, is a huge shoegaze fan. I think she mentioned that to me.
Yeah, they just came through through the fall, I believe. In fact, I had tickets to see them in Roseville, and then we ended up opening for Chameleons in San Francisco that night. So I wasn't able to go. But I would argue that we had a better night.
You want to talk about, there's another one you brought up though, is I just saw the Chameleons play live over in Detroit, and holy crap, does Mark still put on a hell of a show. Absolutely just amazing. And he must have played for like an hour and 20 minutes or something nonstop. The guy is not a spring chicken, but he just destroyed for like an hour and a half almost. Just absolutely.
Well, we did a few shows at Camellia. We played back in San Francisco at the Great American Music Hall. Yeah, just not too long ago, and got to spend some time with Mark.
Yeah.
They're really, really, a true artist.
Yeah.
A good person, a person that's just like a people's people. Not a pretentious dick, a real, like a real guy. Really cool. Yeah.
Wow, this has been incredible. I'm so glad that I got to have you guys on and talk through I'm excited for the new singles coming out. I'll have reviews of those up on soundsandshadows.com as they come out, and I'll get the interview posted up. I always like to spin out to something new that you guys have been doing. We could do the new single, like we talked about, Frozen. If you guys want to spin out to that, that'd be a great one. Or if you have something else in mind that you want to share with people, just let me know which one is best for you.
Okay. Well, yeah, just like you were saying, like March-ish. That's what we're talking about. Like,
Yeah, probably this interview will release probably late February.
okay, okay. We'll keep in touch.
Okay, sounds good.
We're getting real close on a few songs, though.
Saints Bros unless we tell you otherwise.
All right. Well, this has been Creux Lies with Sounds and Shadows, the interview here. Please check out this band if you never have. It truly is one of the big names in the modern scene, and just one of the most creative and best, I think, out there. So please, if you haven't heard, go check it out. I'll have links for everything in Bandcamp and to the bands that they mentioned there, where you can check it out. And for all of you out there in interweb land, keep it dark, yeah.